Week 15 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few defense DST units. I have as sleepers this week. The first one, the Seattle Seahawks. So the Seahawk team out there in tons of fantasy leagues at 76%. And this Seahawk DST, they've been making plays for the majority of the last month of the season. After their bye week in Week 10, so Week 11 in San Francisco, 17 points allowed, 2 sacks and INT. Week 12 versus Arizona, 6 points allowed, 5 sacks, a pick 6 in that game. Week 13 at the Jets, 21 points allowed, 2 sacks, a pick 6 by Leonard Williams in that one, a fumble recovery, a block kick. In Week 14 at Arizona, mediocre game, 18 points allowed, 2 sacks, 2 INTs. So this week here, it's a big matchup versus the Green Bay Packers, where this Packer team has a good offense, no doubt about it. They fell short in a high-scoring ball game last week at the Lions, 34-31. But I just think the Seattle defense, they've been locked in for the most part over the last month of the season, winning 4 in a row after their bye week. Their offense is getting off to good starts in most of these ball games, and then that's where the defense really takes off and starts making plays. So this week they're definitely a deep sleeper, like I said, versus a good Green Bay offense that puts up a lot of points, and they're available right now in 76% of fantasy leagues. Next sleepers, the Carolina Panthers, the Dallas Cowboys are coming to town. We know their offensive line is depleted with start right tackle Zach Martin now for the season, and we also know Dak Prescott's been out now for a month for this Cowboy team. So this Panther defense, they're not good by any means, but I think this week is a deep sleeper if you're in desperation. Could go out there and surprise, and the Cowboys do give up the 5th most points to defenses on the year. Week 12 versus Kansas City, 30 points allowed, 5 sacks. Week 13 versus Tampa Bay, 26 points allowed, 4 sacks, 2 INTs. And Week 14 at the Eagles, 22 points allowed and 4 sacks. So they do get to the quarterback with 3 or 4 sacks per game as this Carolina Panther team. But the thing is, they don't create turnovers, and they don't got good coverage corner guys in the back end there, where wide receivers have had big games versus them this season. So I think this Panther team, like I said, they're a deep sleeper in desperation mode. But like I said, this Cowboy offense isn't that impressive, especially with all the injuries on the O-line and with Dak Prescott out for the season. And the third and final defense DST unit I have is asleep with New England Patriots. I know this Patriot defense, they haven't played well all season long. They are out there in 97% of fantasy leagues, and this week's a tough matchup at the Arizona Cardinals, but the Cardinals do give up the 16th most fantasy points to DSTs, believe it or not. They got a good offense, obviously. James Conner, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Trey McBride. So the last few weeks for the Pats, Week 10 at Chicago, 3 points allowed, 9 sacks. Week 11 versus the Rams, 28 points allowed. Week 12 at the Dolphins, they give up 34 points, 2 sacks, but a fumble recovery touchdown in that one. And Week 13 versus the Colts, 25 points allowed and 2 interceptions. They're coming off a bye week. Defense a little healthier. Team obviously loose. And like I said, this Arizona Cardinal offense, it's been hit or miss. One great week, one bad week. It seems like this Cardinal offense is done. So I think as a deep sleeper in desperation mode, maybe New England could surprise fantasy owners. And they're out there in 97% of fantasy leagues. Defense DST units I have as sleepers for Week 15 of the fantasy football season.